right, here we go. Episode 2 of Silo. This one's called Holston's Pick.
Yep. Apple Plus's
Silo. Thanks for correcting me.
No, I'm not correcting. I just want to remind people, right? Because someone might stumble upon this and hasn't watched the show and want to know where it is. Because I think it's a hidden gem. And we were just talking about it offline that some of these shows that Apple, that they don't really promote them that much.
They don't. They're like,
and there's some of them are really good.
I don't remember hearing this show promoted at all. I remember just coming across it, just like looking for something to watch. Go, oh, this looks interesting.
Yeah, I remember reading a couple of things, up and coming shows, maybe one or two articles. But like you, I was on Apple Plus scrolling through, and I was like just watching trailers. And I'm like, okay, this could be something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, most of the actors on there are not tremendously well known. Like Rebecca Ferguson. She, some people, if you watch her stuff, people know, but she's not like rolls off. If you go to somebody down, on the street, you know who Rebecca Ferguson is.
No, I mean, if you're big into like Mission Impossible.
Yeah, Mission Impossible.
I would go like, I know that girl. Her name is, let me look this up on IMDb real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so real fast before we get into the show, seems like you've had a busy day so far.
Dude, yeah, man. First of all, getting old sucks. Yesterday, I have a room where, a quote unquote game room. I fall asleep with my 1-year-old on me, and I tweaked my lower back. I'm in so much pain right now. My lower back is like driving me nuts. I've had back issues before from an accident back in like 2006, So, and I've had a couple of reoccurring issues with it, but now it's like really tweaked, and I had to go and build my son a new bed. He's turning 4 at the end of the month, so it was time to, get him onto something bigger.
Right.
And, I hate putting some of those things together because they make no sense. Like, you got to put those little dowels in, like the brackets that hold the frame, and they have you screw in the headboard and the feet, beforehand. So then when you're trying to put it in, there's no give. There's no room to put it like adjust it in properly. So it's like they would think to like don't attach the feet first, so you have some room to expand it so they can actually fit. But it is what it is. What you been up to, man? I just hate those things. Anyway.
I just went and picked up my son from Woodward yesterday.
How was that?
It was a nice little drive. He did not seem that excited to see me, so it's totally fine. And then I thought maybe we'd be spending some time yesterday together and then today, but he's already out and about doing his thing. So I got to, maybe have a 5-minute long conversation with him, spread out through 24 hours.
About how was the skating camp?
Yeah, and even that, I didn't really get that much information. But it seemed like he had fun. That's really all that matters. So
there are some kids, they like my daughter, driving home from school. How was school? Good, great. It's like you got to really dig. And unfortunately, I'm like that, and my wife hates it. I'll come home from work, and she's like, "How was work?" And it's like, it was all right, But she wants like
details.
Yeah, details, and it's some people are just wired that way. Unfortunately.
Well. Anyways, let's jump into this. All right, episode 2, Holston's Pick. All right. So now it seems like we're not necessarily we're kind of like, it kind of goes back and forth this episode. It goes a little bit with the present, and then it also goes back like about a year, and you get to see how Holston met Juliette. Mm-hmm. And Juliette seems to be the main star of the show. So she's pretty much kept out of the entire first episode to the very end. You see her kind of like her Luke Skywalker moment at the end of Force Awakens. She just wasn't throwing her tool behind her or something. Anyways, that's my last nerd
Star Wars thing.
Hey, this is a nerd show, so I can drop nerd movies and nerd.
Silo's not a nerd show. It's a good show.
It is. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so it goes back and forth a little bit, which I like. You get to see the dynamic on how Juliette and Holston kind of like what their main, I guess, bond that kind of brings them together a little bit. And it's really, you come to find out towards the end of the episode, which is, that both of their significant others knew each other and they kind of discovered something together. It seems
the hard drive.
The hard drive. Right. So, but this episode starts with kind of the present where it shows Holston about to be sent outside to clean.
Yeah.
And then he goes outside, and you get to see something. This adds a little bit more of the mystery to like what's actually going on. So you get to see what his wife saw, which is it looks green outside. So he goes and he wipes the
sees
camera.
Birds.
He sees birds.
Flush green. He doesn't know what they are.
Doesn't know what it is,
but he sees them.
But you get to see like he sees the green lushness, and he goes and he cleans the camera and stuff, and he decides to take his helmet. So this is where it gets a little.
He starts to choke.
Yeah, but before then, when he's scanning around, he doesn't. We notice that you don't see a body anywhere. You don't see his wife's body, or you don't see anybody else's bodies, right?
Yeah.
But when he finally takes the mask off, it seems like he goes and crawls to her, but you don't actually get to see
from his perspective
because, with the mask off.
Yeah,
right.
Throughout this part, the camera shows you what he's seeing.
Yeah.
Unlike before with the wife.
Right.
We just saw her smile, right? And then she cleaned.
She smiles because she thinks that she was right. And you get to,
and you saw a little, but in this episode, they actually show you his eyes seeing, the green, and
right.
We finally see the camera that that's providing the feed. It's in like this little bunker kind of
right, yeah,
protective thing, and but when he starts to choke or die, he decides to take his helmet off, and from that point, once he takes his helmet off, we don't see what he sees anymore.
Right.
We just see we see people watching from inside the silo, him struggling to move, but like you mentioned, there's no bodies when we were watching it from the helmet.
From inside the helmet, right.
So it really brings up now which is which. Is it, at this point, is it what people are seeing in the helmet that's fake,
right,
and what they see in the silo is real, or is it vice versa? What they see in the silo is fake, and what's in their helmet is real.
And let's throw this out there also, which I think you pointed it out. You don't actually see him die.
Yeah,
like you don't see his you don't see his facial expression die. Like you don't see him go out. You just kind of see from the camera angle
in the silo.
So it's
in the silo we see him die.
In the silo you see him die, right? So
we don't know if it's true because he takes the helmet off. So if those who are believing the theory that maybe they're poisoning them, like you brought that up, right? And the very first time you're like, they're poisoning them in the suit.
Because what's the suit for?
Exactly.
Because the suit's clearly not doing anything. Whatever toxin that's out in the world is getting through there. Is that just basically just a giant filtration device that's behind him?
Yeah, maybe a few minutes of air so you can clean. Enough air for you to clean. That's one speculation. Or it is poison in there.
Make a bigger tank.
Like you said, they don't want him to live. It's punishment, right? This is the death penalty.
Right.
So they give him a few minutes for them to walk outside, see, clean, and then you go. But to your first speculation of they're poisoning them out there.
I think they are still. I think they're poisoning them when they go out there.
So now let's go on that premise. If they're poisoning them, if he takes his helmet off, did he get enough poison to kill himself? Or now that he's going to breathe in quote unquote fresh air, does he not die? Because they, like you said, they show him dying from the perspective of the silo, which in this theory, if they're killing them, that is a bad feed, right?
Right.
Now, if you go on the other side, let's say it is the feed in the silo is correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what he sees is wrong, right? He sees the green. When he takes off the helmet, does he now see his wife's body there? And that's what they see, right? It's either those. It's one of those two scenarios, right?
That's what it seems like. Like when he takes the helmet off, he does see where his wife is. That's where he crawls to it. Or there's theory C, where the feed that you see isn't like part of it is real and part of it is obviously filtered out. So maybe that whole end scene is actually, maybe they're not dead. Maybe when they take the helmet off, so they pass out, and there's another feed that's there that basically is, I don't know. There's a couple of different ways this thing can go.
Yeah, and you know what? I appreciate that they are, a couple of episodes in, there's still the possibility one way or the other.
Right.
So it's still well done.
Yeah. Well,
now that everybody, it's like an event watching this thing. Juliette is down there with everybody else who's in mechanical or the bottom, what do they call them? Down low, whatever.
Yeah, in the deep or something.
Whatever. They're all watching. They're placing bets. She sees him pass away, and she's angry. Like she storms out screaming.
Yeah.
And that's how the soft opening begins.
Yeah.
she storms over to Martha Walker's, the lady that fixes everything, listening to scanners, and she's kind of like, I guess she's trying to avoid talking, and then finally she tells the story, and that's when we get pushed back a year to why she's pissed off at Holston.
Yeah, you get to see like how they actually met and what brings them together, obviously. And so it starts off with, I mean, we know that Holston, like from the way the last episode ended, we know that Holston goes down to the bottom to meet Juliette because Juliette says that
George Wilkins
did not commit suicide; he was murdered.
Yes.
Right, and so this brings us back to that point on how they basically, like,
why she said that.
And it turns out they were in a relationship together, and that was like her significant other. Nobody knew about it because I guess it's not sanctioned.
Yeah, you gotta
fill out the right paperwork, I guess, to figure out like if you can have a relationship with someone.
It's like an office relationship,
Yeah,
you gotta. Some offices, they want to know if anybody's dating and stuff like that.
So that brings me a good question. So how about this? I mean, when do you think, this might get a little weird, but when do you think they actually give the birth control method to the females?
As soon as they probably, maybe early on or before their first period, or
so you don't think it's like when they declare that they're in a relationship, that's when they get it?
No, because unfortunately, the world, you never know what can happen,
Right.
Curiosity.
So you think it's right,
criminal,
13 years old,
or
12 years old?
10, 11, like before maybe there's an age they get before they have their first menstrual cycle, you're getting the thing.
So they're growing up with that thing inside of them.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's an apocalyptic world, man. This is the stuff you got to do.
Anyways,
got to keep the numbers in check. But yeah, they're in a relationship, and she's adamant that he didn't kill himself,
right?
Because things were looking great up until that night when she goes back to their place and he's not there.
Right, and then she finds the Pez dispenser and then the note that we couldn't really read until later on in the episode.
Yeah, the first part of the note, she ends up, well, not to jump too quickly, but she gives, when she's talking to Holston, we find out that first part says, "I found what I was looking for." Is that what it says?
No, that's what the bottom of the note says.
The bottom
top of the note says,
do you remember where the last place you saw the...
Yeah. So, like, going back to where they all go to the spot where the body was found, right? And Holston already kind of knows. He's already figured out that Juliette
He's a good cop.
Yeah, Juliette was in a relationship, but because of the watch that she's wearing. Remember, like, you see the watch in the first episode. Apparently that watch was handed over to Juliette. So he kind of already has an idea that they're in a relationship, especially since she's so adamant to say that he didn't commit suicide.
And she's uncomfortable there.
Totally uncomfortable there. And then so he invites her to go check out the body at the morgue. Maybe you might see something I can't see. And then he goes and he checks the wrists and he says, sometimes people that commit suicide, they slit their wrists first before they jump to make sure that the job's done. And what he's really looking for is the watch. Yeah. And we kind of put just to confirm,
confirm that.
Right.
Yeah, they're definitely together.
Yeah.
Because then when they go back into their cafeteria, he kind of divulges that to her, like, so how long have you guys been together? Right. She denies it. He just blows right past it and is pretty much, I'm sure you guys are together because of the watch,
Right. And so she finally admits it in her own way, but then says, she
wants to show her the relic.
Right. Well, he basically says, you have to trust me to show me all this stuff, right? Yeah. And so she basically says, like, she implies that the reason why she knows
he got killed
is because of what he gave her. Yeah. And so she's hesitant to tell him what it is because it is a relic.
Yeah.
And so he basically says, whatever you show me, I'll just basically, say
act like I found it.
I'll say I found it somewhere else. We don't have to say that I found it with you. Yeah. So she takes him back to her place. She shows him the Pez dispenser. And then that's the beginning of their adventure together. Where really, she's going to take him now to the unknown, bottom of the silo, and then kind of what we saw from the blueprint from the first episode that he found on the hard drive with Holston's wife.
Yeah. He like you said, he takes her to their love nest, nicely decorated, lit. They show you the giant drill that made the big old hole to build out the silo. Right. It was pretty impressive. It looked like,
look like something out of the Matrix, right? Remember remember those giant machines in the Matrix that were trying to drill down to what was the name of the city in Matrix?
30
points. 30 points. 30 points. 30 points. I'm going in. The name?
Zion.
Zion, darn it. Load it up. And there it is, Zion.
Yeah, Zion.
Okay, good job.
Yeah, so yeah, and it also reminded me, like, the drill heads reminded me of, the drills they use in Armageddon, Bruce Willis's drill heads to drill into the asteroid. It had a bunch of huge versions of those, and it was a nice hole, and it was just stuck there, and you see a ton of water on the bottom. Yeah. Right? So the guy, he's been hanging out there because we're assuming he's been looking for that door to wherever that door leads. Right. That's that's his end goal.
Well, I'm assuming that because what he saw in the blueprints in the first episode, he's the one who knocks the wall down behind the sign to go down the hallway, and then he's the one who knocks down, he knows exactly where to drill to get where the ladder is, which that was a pretty good guess, I guess. Yeah. And then he finds the place, and so he's on a mission. And then at some point, Juliette kind of tags along with them because, I'm assuming you need to have somewhere to have your relationship because it's not sanctioned. Yeah. So he basically takes her down there, woos her with his findings, and then there you go. But doesn't quite tell her exactly what he's looking for, though.
No. He says
it's underwater, right?
No, he didn't say that. He just says.
I think he does imply it's underwater. That's why the rope's there.
No, but he just said, I'm looking for a door. He didn't say anything about the water. He didn't mention water. He just said that she asked him, why do you have all this rope? He's like, because I'm going to the past, whatever. And then when they're in the bed, what are you looking for? He's like, a door. And then, she interrupts him about the door. They never talk about water. Really.
No, she does, because I remember her specifically saying it's underwater. You can't breathe underwater. You die underwater. So
was she talking that to Holston or him? I think that might have been with Holston.
Ooh. It's possible. Yeah. If anybody wants to call us out on this,
I don't remember exactly, but I don't remember it with, or maybe it was.
Either way, it's kind of irrelevant, to be honest with you, with what's going on in the show. Whether she actually knew or not, it doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, because she doesn't even know where the door's going. He just says it's a door.
Well, nobody knows.
He says a door to the past. That's all he says, right?
Maybe he thinks it's the door to outside.
Why would you want to go there if everybody's dying to go outside? It has to be something better. Maybe it's, what Judicial is hiding. And talking about Judicial, it's the first time we actually see
someone from there,
Judicial, because now with to pivot, now that the sheriff is gone, the mayor and Marnes, Deputy Marnes, and probably everybody in the South are worried about another upheaval, another rebellion. Right. So people are starting to collect, pipes and hammers from recycling, and you see a little skirmish, and you see one of the other deputies trying to break it up, and then Common makes his presence with two lackeys.
Robert Sims. That's his name. They just call him Sims.
Sims. He comes down, and immediately the tone changes immediately. Everybody brushes to the side and stops talking. My thing is, wouldn't the deputy have the same power as Judicial? What's it seems like the main crime here is going out to clean. Right. Wouldn't the deputy have the power to make you clean just as much as Judicial? Why are you so much more afraid of Judicial? Is Judicial torturing people and we haven't found this out yet? Do you see what I'm saying?
I feel like Judicial's the main government, the main people, the overlords of everything right now. So you've got your mayor, and then you have your police, which is the sheriffs and stuff underneath her. But then above the mayor, maybe there's an overall president or something we don't know about yet, and that's the person in charge of judicial.
You know what I see Judicial is almost like not even FBI, but CIA, because they talk about them having whisperers and contributors and eyes and ears everywhere. Right. I feel like they're more like the CIA, but again, what punishment is Judicial going to do that's worse than what a deputy could do? Because if you remember when Holston went out to clean and they were betting on how long he lasted, there was a little skirmish in the cafeteria, and then Hank, the sheriff there, he breaks it up, and then as soon as they see it's the deputy, they just chill, because and we were talking about it, they don't have guns, they don't carry a baton, just the fear of, I can put you out to go clean, keeps everybody, in check. And you mentioned it's kind of like how everybody has nukes now. No one wants to really have a war, right?
Well, most people.
Yeah. But
Bad
most
example.
people. but still, like I'm still want to see what makes judicial so much worse than the regular deputy. But it's the first, and when we see them come, we see their presence and the fear everybody around has of them.
Right.
But we
right.
haven't seen. I at this point we haven't seen why they're so much more afraid of them than
It's got to be
sheriff
something
and the
big.
deputy.
It's got to be something big.
Yeah, they're torturing people, or they're gonna make your whole family go clean.
Maybe.
But it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people who go out and clean.
No, it seems like there's like many years in between.
Exactly.
So maybe because that's the fear is keeping everybody in check.
Yeah. Yeah. So Juliette is continue telling this story to Martha Walker,
Right.
About what they found, and when she's showing Holston everything in their little apartment out down there,
Right.
she opens up a box, a tin.
Yeah, $10. But this is going to
like
go
a fishing
towards
thing?
This is going to go towards your list that you wanted
Oh
to
yeah,
create.
oh yeah.
Okay.
I created it.
Okay.
Because the top of the letter said, "Do you remember where you found it?" And she told him, "This is where I found the Pez dispenser." They're
Right.
not, obviously not calling it that. They pull out a
Even
couple
though it
of
says
knickknacks.
Pez on the side of it.
It does say Pez on the side of it, right? They have a little mini Statue of Liberty. They have
Seashell.
a seashell, a camcorder, badminton, the little badminton ball,
Like
right?
that's what it is, right? It's got the little feathers on the end
Yeah,
of
a
it.
little
Yeah,
badminton,
yeah.
a little badminton ball. And then so we talked about this last week. We're gonna start tallying up things that they obviously have no clue of because their previous generations failed them on teaching them basic things. In episode 1, she didn't know there were birds that were flying in the sky. She just said there's things flying in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
So they have no idea of the Statue of Liberty, camcorders, Batman, everything we mentioned here. And then you even mentioned they have no concept of swimming because when they were having the conversation about the water,
Yeah.
so she's
You
worried
just
about
sink.
the
Yeah, because
just sink. She says,
she just think that you would just sink. There's nothing else you
people
can do.
sink in the water, so
Yeah.
they don't. No swimming
But
pools in the
hold on.
silo.
But how would she know that though? Because
what?
that you just sink in water.
Well, a bathtub, anything. I mean,
but you're not just sink. But whose bathtub is big enough for them to
No,
actually
you
be
know
able to
what I
figure
mean.
out if they're going to sink? So how would she know that you'd sink in water? There's not a pool that I know of anywhere. So obviously they don't know what to swim. But anything that they can just fall all the way to the bottom. She's afraid of something that it doesn't make any sense why she's afraid of it because she hasn't seen it anywhere to know that she would just drop to the bottom.
Well, when you're saying
deep
this,
enough.
like when we were rewatching it here, right? She obviously has a fear of the water and the swimming, and when Holston shows her the body of George Wilkes, he says to her, "Have you ever seen, a body?" And she's like, "My little brother when she was 12, and then a year later, the mom." So I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Maybe the brother had a water incident, and that's why she has the fear of the water.
Drowned in the tub.
Like he's drowned in the tub because he's
Ooh,
younger,
okay.
and then he also says you're also susceptible to suicide. So then I'm assuming the mother maybe committed suicide the year after because of the loss of the brother.
Okay, I'll allow it then.
So maybe that's why she has that fear of
Right.
the water so much in a world where it doesn't look like everybody has swimming pools, in their floor, in their level, quote unquote, for exercise. The stairs is more than enough exercise.
Yeah.
So our list is gonna keep growing, I'm assuming, because shows like this like these kind of little Easter eggs, putting these things out that they have no clue about.
Right.
So it'll be fun to see how big this list gets.
Yeah.
But then she also finds a string attached to something. She funnels it out, and then he left her a bag that was dangling over the edge
Yep.
of the bat cave that they're in. And, and inside of it is the hard drive, the famous hard drive, that thing that she printed out, that George Wilkes printed out, that his wife had emailed at work on how to recover files.
Right.
And then on the back is her handwriting. So now they both realize that
Yeah.
their connection.
Allison's handwriting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Juliette now realizes that, Allison and George met. Holston interviewed George after she went out to clean. They're all connected because of this hard drive, like you mentioned before.
Right.
So that's when it's all now put into place. And Holston kind of assures her that right now, he has to put it as a quote unquote suicide. But he's gonna look into it further and
Right.
send her a sign.
Right. And this is why she's upset in the very
Yes.
beginning of the episode, because he ended up.
It's a year later.
It's a year later. He kills himself by going outside.
Mhm.
He did not help solve, obviously, the murder of her boy toy, and so like she's upset. That's basically what it all boils down to. But then,
because there's no sign,
there's no sign. So, but then here's the kicker of the entire thing, though. Before Holston dies, he leaves a letter
to Marnes
stating who he thinks should be the new sheriff.
Marnes holds that back from Mayor Johns, and finally, towards the end of the episode, in current time, he
reveals it to her, and
because Judicial made their recommendation.
Yeah, the mayor, which we haven't been introduced to the mayor yet. No, I'm sorry, not the mayor, the judge.
Yeah, the judge.
Yeah, we've been introduced to the judge yet, and so the judge picked. I think they said 5 candidates that are washes, but one that's a for sure.
Yeah,
and that used to be a deputy in the past, but then went to judicial for, I guess, better hours because he was having a family or something.
Yeah.
And then
vice versa. He went there for because he chose it's a better, I guess, job. But now that he has a family, he wants better hours because Judicial.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah.
Okay.
So being a deputy, you get better hours than Judicial,
right?
Because you're probably snooping all times of night.
Right. And then Marnes says, which wouldn't be a bad. He's not. There could be worse choices.
Yes.
He actually is okay with that choice. But then he tells the mayor that Holston actually did choose someone, and that choice was
Juliette Nichols in engineering, which makes no sense, and that he left her his badge.
Right.
Like, now the mayor is really, she's kind of an outside thinker. She's like, I want to at least meet her.
Yeah.
And instead of having her come up, she wants to go and
walk the silo.
142 floors, I want to say.
Hey, she's in shape. She wants to walk the silo, let the people know that, that she's still around, even though she just sent their sheriff out.
Yeah.
But she's trying to, put on a good face.
She's a good politician.
She's a good politician. And also, let's not, when they go and have this meeting, when Marnes shows up, she's sitting there knitting.
Yeah.
Like a little blankie or something like that.
New babies coming.
And so she's that kind of a caring mayor. I mean, obviously it's a smaller group than obviously what the real world is, but I guess it's something that she's done her entire term. Is just knit these things for every newborn, but not every newborn baby. Not
as many as she could do.
I think it was like she would do one for every 10, but now she's lucky if she can get like 5 out or something a year or something.
So,
which means they're producing at a decent rate down there.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we're gonna see where this is gonna go, because it's like, why out of all the people, why Juliette? Now they show you Juliette goes back to the Bat Cave. I'll call it. I don't know what George's Cave. What are we calling this thing?
We'll just call it the. Let's stick with the Bat Cave. I kind of like the Bat Cave.
Okay. She goes back to the Bat Cave. Now she has some, she has some courage. She takes the rope, ties it up. She goes down there and she gets stuck.
So she knows where this door is. I'm just throwing this back to you. She knows that there's something underneath the water because they did talk about it.
Why do you keep thinking it's underneath the water?
Why? Because he says there was a conversation that was had about it being under the water. And why do you think she's got a rope that goes all the way down to the water? He said that he's looking for something underneath the water. That's why the rope is there.
I don't know if it's. I got to go back and see. I don't recall this conversation about the door being underneath the water at all.
It's irrelevant. Move on.
So I'm just thinking she thinks the door is somewhere, down there. I don't know if it's because under the water you would think, what is she gonna bring? Because she brought was a light and the rope and a bag. Like, that doesn't make sense that it would, preparing to go underwater, and that's what you're bringing.
I don't know.
It's I don't remember that conversation, but maybe you're right. We'll dig back. But she's stuck, and that's where the episode ends.
Well,
like I wouldn't go down there because I would be worried I don't have enough strength to climb all the way back up. That was deep. It looked like a freaking deep hole. Do
you remember the movie with Chuck Norris? And it was like this kid who always had these he would daydream in school and stuff like that he was in a Chuck Norris movie.
I remember that kid. Movie? Yeah, I remember that movie.
At some point in that movie, that kid gets stuck on a rope, right? And he's got to climb to the top, and he can't do it because he's so weak. and then he envisions Chuck Norris next to him, and Chuck Norris teaches him how to climb the rope.
I remember, and that boy actor, he was kind of famous for a little while.
I think he died. Like he committed suicide, I think.
Oh, really?
I think so.
I know the movie. Oh man, now you're gonna make me.
Anyways, that's how I learned how to climb a rope. Was actually from that movie. And
Did your school make you climb rope?
No, but I remember climbing a rope for like one of the first times, and I actually used the method that Chuck Norris shows this kid. Oh,
tying your leg around?
Yeah.
Like
because I always thought you just used your arms, and then when he shows the way to do it, I was like, oh, that makes more sense. You're almost like climbing it, like kind of like a snake, like slithering up on top of it.
You know, my high school and stuff, they had the rope, but they never used it. It was.
They'd be afraid some kid would fall.
Some kid would fall.
No, serious. Like if for how high those ropes would go, that would be a bad thing.
I remember the movie.
Remember back in the day, like you had jungle gyms and stuff like that there was no padding underneath on like cement.
Yep.
At least at my schools. And then at some point they decided, we'll put like this little thin padding on the bottom of it. So if you did fall off the monkey bars or something like that, you wouldn't get that bad of a concussion. Now it's like there's got to be sand underneath it. It's got to be this full squishy board that you can like bounce off of. They don't mess around anymore.
They don't mess around. So it was Sidekicks.
Sidekicks. There you go.
And it was Jonathan Brandis.
Is he still alive?
No, he passed away in 2003.
Yeah.
Wow. Good memory on that one. You know, I remember the movie, but it was like deep in my archives. When you just said it, I remembered the movie. But it's one of those things you don't think about or even remember.
I guarantee if we did that on Still Holds Up, that movie ain't holding up.
Oh, probably
All
not.
Right.
If American Ninja didn't, how would this? And American Ninja's a better movie.
Let's wrap this episode because we're rapid firing right now. We're going to now go watch the third episode and jump back on this podcast. But hey, thank you everybody for listening. Don't forget to check out our Patreon page. If you like what you're hearing, which you must have if you made it this far into the podcast, or you just lost, or you fell asleep or whatever the case is. But if you made it this far, go check out our Patreon page. Help us get some coffee. Stay awake for these episodes. Even though they're good, we have to do them late at night because we still have day jobs and stuff. And then our wives like us to be home sometimes. So please send us your support, send your love. If you can't afford any money, no worries. Just hit the follow button, hit the like button, share with your friends, share us like a virus. We will really appreciate that. Max, anything else?
You want to know who the coach was who was screaming at him?
Who?
Remember this guy? I can't even find him in the ad. Oh man, I just butchered the end of this podcast. But can you see my screen?
I mean, I can a little bit. Nobody else can that's listening to us.
Oh, it doesn't matter. And I can't find his name. He always played that. Remember Night Court, the big tall.
Oh yeah.
What's his name?
I don't know.
But now I'm gonna have to go dig up Night Court. But he was the coach screaming. Now I'm gonna go back to Night Court. Night Court was a good show, by the way.
All right, thank you everybody for listening. We're gonna cut Max off now. We will catch you next time. Say goodbye, Max.
I still gotta find it. Richard Mall.
Goodbye, Max.
That's his name. Music composed by Kyle Tormey. Subscribe to the Extremist podcast feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com/The Extremist. Subscribe to Rot Your Brain Media feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com and support Rot Your Brain Media by visiting patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.